Hello, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me. Hope it's not too loud. Um, Hope you guys are having a great Sunday evening before the busy work week coming up tomorrow. Um, just came back from visiting Boston, back in Dallas now. Um, Been a pretty long and busy week, even though I was technically supposed to be taking the week off. But it's good to be back. We're going to be doing a live stream. Before I get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that really appreciate if you guys could join my Discord. The link is in the description. Um, just trying to build this community out. Um, but yeah, just wanted to, excuse me, just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I have a Discord. I'm also on other social media too. I'm on Instagram, Twitter. Um, you can see the description for details. But the main thing I want to talk about is that a lot of things came out that I wanted to talk about, especially for the title of the live stream. Um, I truly believe the future of entertainment will come from independent creators, and I strongly believe that. And the reason why I say that is bring it up here. Where's that video? So hold on, let me find it. Oop, where is it? Right here. So Gigguk, I believe that's how you're supposed to pronounce his YouTube name. Pretty big YouTuber, has a decent following. He worked on his own original anime, which is very aspiring for a lot of creators out there, especially people who are working in the independent manga genre or independent comics. They're trying so hard to get their independent anime. And apparently, Gigguk created his own short anime film. It streamed yesterday. I watched it, and I have to say, I'm pretty impressed in the value of this series. I can just show you a few clips here. I don't want to get copyright strike, but he did this in Japan with a Japanese studio. Um, Animation, the colors, like character designs, it looks really, really good. Um, and I'm surprised for the theme of the series that he went for, because usually when most of these, especially like in the West, most of these independent creators, obviously, they try to go for like the shonen action heavy type of in terms of the work they're trying to create, especially for the type of anime that they want to build. Giggit though, this is more like a fantasy slash slice of life type of series. And if you see down here, he gives a shows like the people who worked on it, the staff. For the music, he had Kevin Pelkin working on this. For those of you who don't know who this is, he does the original score. He does the score for Made in Abyss. That is a very big name. And the fact that he was able to get him to work on the music for this is fucking amazing. I believe Kevin was a guest on the Trash Take podcast they have. It's a pretty popular anime and manga podcast they have. Um, I'm just surprised that, because Kevin Bacon, he works on a lot of series. I'm surprised he had time to do this. It's really amazing that he got him to work on this. And um, I'll play a little bit of the music. Um, get a scene of it. Play a little bit right here. There's the music scene.
Nala, protect the egg, okay?
I will.
Where is that signal?
But I'm just surprised that he worked on this. I think there's there's a song at the end. You can hear some of the music. The music sounds really good. Here's like a little bit of the
I
music.
hear the whisper, I hear the song, guiding my way as I wander. Voice on the wind, echoes and sings, calling me forward where I belong.
The music for this is really good. To me, like the music, it's like a combination of Mulan, and a little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender, a little bit in terms of the music inspiration. That's like what I get from it. But it's really amazing, man. And mind you, from what I understand, Gigguk, he did all this himself in terms of the cost of it. And I need you guys to understand that anime is not cheap. Um, I believe like just your average anime episode is like roughly about like half a million, like it's roughly like around like $500,000 just per episode, depending on the type of series. I think so. Last time I checked, let's see, My Hero Academia. I looked at this a while ago. So back when it was season four, I remember they showed like how much each episode costs. So for My Hero Academia season four, it said that one episode costs like around like 350K. And mind you, My Hero they usually run for like 20 something to 25 episodes per season. So yeah, it's not cheap. Even though this is not really the standard length of an anime episode or a film, like this was like 18 minutes, this is still like a pretty decent amount of money. I would say like he spent at least maybe, I don't know how much he spent, like probably close to like maybe like half a million or close to $1 million. Not to mention you have Kevin Pelkin on this. Like, come on, man. But really great production quality. Really great. Like it just looks so good, man.
Have you ever been to a festival?
It just looks really good. Like I am shocked that he was able to get this type of quality for the amount of time he had um and just the length of this series. And it just goes to show, like I said again, like independents are going to be the future of entertainment because like look at this. Like we've seen an example of what happens when Hollywood tries to create their own anime. We've seen it happen recently. The series is called Lazarus. Like we've seen that. Like we've seen what they did with Lazarus. Like let me play that. I just want to play that scene again. Lazarus anime. Hold on. Lazarus anime. I think it was episode. What was it? Episode 3. I believe it was episode 3. No, I don't need the reaction. I just need that scene. I just need that scene just to prove a point. Because the point I'm trying to prove is that a lot of a lot of these big companies in Hollywood, they are very, very detached from the fans. Like they are very detached. I think. Hold on. I think Monte does a. He did Lazarus. I just want to play this one scene just to prove a point. Because I said this before in my recent in my live stream when I talked about Lazarus. Like this anime is literally about nothing. Damn, I really can't find that video. I really can't find that scene. But the point is, like, the scene was when they were looking for the doctor, and then there was just like a whole tangent of the they run into a trans person. It was already acknowledged that they're trans, and then the question is asked. We're just trying to find this doctor, and then they go into a tangent saying, I'm a transgender person who gone into bankruptcy," and it's just like, who cares? Like we're trying to get to the point, and mind you, the whole series, the whole point of the series Lazarus, it just made no sense either way. So, and then after that, then you have the black character saying, my teacher would tell me there'll never be a black Einstein." It's just like it's not about you. Like who cares about your victim mentality? Like nobody cares. And mind you, all of this had nothing to do with the overarching story or the plot. Nothing. Then again, every episode of the series had nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. Like, this is a series that should have never happened, in my opinion. That's what happened when Watanabe took influence from the West. So, and it's just amazing that Gigguk just created his own series, and for what I understand from the description, this is based on Southeast Asian mythology, which is very interesting. Obviously, you can tell from watching it. It's not. It's something that you can tell it's not complete because it's only 18 minutes. Yeah, it's only 18 minutes, so it's something that's not complete, but it feels like it's the beginning of something. Like this is just the beginning. Um, and I think he did a really good job. Like I said, I am just shocked at the value of how this looks, especially for something that was considered quote unquote low budget. This is really amazing. But yeah, it just goes to the point. Like I'm gonna show a bunch of stuff here, but my point is that independent creators are the future of entertainment, in my opinion. Because I don't. I'm just gonna be honest. Eric July said this too. I just don't think the mainstream is gonna come back because ever since for some reason ever since we got into the 2020s, there's been I know a lot of people notice this too. There's just been a huge shift in entertainment. um, Everything's becoming more political. Movies are being remade. Like, mind you, these are movies based off like franchises that did good back in the day. They're trying to bring them back just to like relive the nostalgia, try to cash out, try to get more money off of it. When mind you, the story like had a significant ending already. That's how I kind of feel that way with Harry Potter in a way, like how they're bringing back Harry Potter to do each movie into a season. According to the execs at Warner Bros., they just confirmed that the Harry Potter show is going to be around for 10 years. So that means there's going to be 10 seasons of it. Um, but, yeah, and not to mention, everything is becoming so political. All these women bosses, Mary Sue's, getting the man, especially the white man, out of these heroic roles, race swapping characters. There's a shift in Hollywood that's happening, and they did this because they quote unquote want to put people minority in places that that they want to see themselves as, but it hasn't been working. You know, Nobody's going to watch these things. No one's buying the product. And they say that there's a group out there for this, but where are they? As far as we all saw, most of these people, the most they do is just they'll just retweet or quote something and it's saying, yes, this is stunning and bold, but they don't support this stuff. They're not buying into this. The most they'll do is like they'll either pirate it or they'll wait until it comes out on streaming. They won't go to the theater or support you. They won't put money for this. They don't. At the end of the day, it's about they're doing this for headlines. The study and bold thing. And that's why I'm just happy to see, people like independent creators like this, like Gigguk, who his love, because from what I believe, I think he was like an anime reviewer for the longest time, and he created his own series, something that he believed in, something that he believes. He didn't do this to check any boxes. He just did this because he wanted to tell an actual good story. And you're free to have your opinion on how you want about the film. That's the name of the film on the screen. It's called Baan. Um, I still think it's very ambitious and it's very cool that he did this. And again, for something that's quote unquote low budget, it looks amazing. Like this can compete with other anime series that are coming out today. Um, I really hope he gets nominated. This gets nominated for the Anime Awards. Obviously, I don't think it's gonna win because you have Demon Slayer out right now, and not to mention Chainsaw Man's coming out next month, which I am excited for. I am excited for Chainsaw Man. I've seen the Demon Slayer movie. I'm just gonna be honest, not a fan. Um, the flashbacks were longer than the fights. For those of you who have not seen the movie, I'm just letting you guys know. And for those of you who've seen the movie, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Like the flashback scenes were literally longer than the fights. But then again, that's literally what Demon Slayer is mostly about. So, but that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I think this is amazing. I hope it's nominated. I don't think it's gonna win because Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man, so that's already some hefty competition itself when it comes to anime films because this is considered an anime film. So overall, I think this was a really great project that he did, and I hope he does more things like this. I hope more creators do more things like this. there's been a huge rise in independent creators, and I feel like the main reason because of that is because of the mainstream. The mainstream is just dwindling down. It's not the same that it used to be. Um, some of these big name companies, these big name properties that we loved and adored, have just spat in the faces of fans for too many for the past 5 years that people have just had enough, and they're either moving on to other things, mainly like the Japanese, Koreas, or they're just making their own stuff and trying to build an audience. And I support it. I'm all for independent creators, and I just want to see them win. But before we move on to the next thing, I do want to show this real quick. Someone I follow on YouTube. So Jay the Concept, he's working on his own independent. He's working on his own independent graphic novel. Um, it's called Alari the Last Night. Nice artwork right here. He also has some character designs. Where's the character design? He showed it. So this is like one. This is one of the characters he showcased recently. I think he showed this 2 days. Yeah, 2 days ago. Um, he's a good artist, by the way. He has a website that features like his artwork. Um, yeah, there's one of the characters right here. From what I understand, he's been working on this for quite a while now. Um, so far, from what I understand, he also released some preview pages of what it looks like. From what I understand so far, he is really really inspired by the Lord of the Rings for this, um, and I'm already intrigued by that. I actually need to rewatch the Lord of the Rings. It's been a long time. The last time I rewatched Lord of the Rings was like what, maybe like 12 years ago since I rewatched it. So I got to rewatch it again. It's been a really long time. But yeah, he's creating his own graphic novel. Can't wait to buy it until it comes out. When it comes out, I'm really interested in the premise, and I really like the designs of the characters. But yeah, just want to show you guys this. Can I click on the image? Just want to enlarge it. I don't think I can. No, I can't. But yeah, this is the main character right here. From what I understand, this is like her mentor right here, father figure. Um, really interesting concept. I like how he drew the armor and the metal on here. It really comes off as metal. The detail is really good. Um, but yeah, um, independents are on the rise. Independents are the future of entertainment. Like look at Corey Kenshin. He created his own manga and it sold like over 150 copies. That's like what, like $2 million plus right there. So yeah, independent creators are on the rise. If you have an audience and you want to create something, do that. Um, I will always support creators that want to create their own properties, um, their own universes. Especially if you're like trying to create a book. As long as you're not doing it just to check a box, as long as you're doing it, just to have fun, build a fan base. That's all. That's what it's all about. Don't do something just because this doesn't look like. I mean, you're fine. You're free to do that. Like create something. Let's say if there's like, oh, this universe, this property doesn't have people that look like me. Thing like that. You're free to do that. You can do that at your own risk. Just know that, um, you know, you gotta remember when you create stuff based off that, you gotta keep in mind that you're only gonna bring in a very small audience. But again, you're free to do it. You're free to do whatever you want. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, just wanted to show that. Next thing I want to talk about is like one of the main crux of the video. Um, Most of them have to do with Eric July. Let's go with. Um, I guess we can start with this one. Start with this one right here. Actually, no. Let's start with the top one.
You've heard me discuss many.
Make sure we start.
If you are familiar with my videos, you've heard me discuss many times the ability to sell something else and how it's very important. It's vital, especially if you're going to be an independent creator. Now, what I mean by that is that just skating by on your talents alone is nearly impossible in today's day and age, and that's due to many different factors. So you have.
And he's absolutely right, because you can be the talented, you can have so much talent. Just let's say if it comes to like art, directing, making films, you can have a lot of talent, but at the end of the day, people are not, that doesn't mean that they owe you their dollar, and at that, and it, in that point, it comes off when you like how you market your product. Marketing is very, very important, especially if you're independent. Like how you market yourself is how the audience is gonna view you as, and how they're gonna view the product. Because again, like you don't have a $1 billion corporation backing you, so it's just you. So again, if you want it to win, you have to market. My advice is market the product. Do not market yourself. For example, I know there's a big thing, and I know people might get upset at me for saying this, but if you're black and you try to make your own business, do not market your business as a black-owned business. Do not use that in your marketing. That's just my personal opinion. Because when you use that in your marketing, and we've seen it happen time and time again, a lot of these people that use black-owned business, that's literally what they use that as, like, the biggest thing about them, and the product will come second. And I'm just gonna be honest. You gotta remember, black people are not the biggest majority in this country. So you saying you're a black-owned business, like, even though you don't intentionally mean this, but other people are gonna view it as, oh, so it's like this is a product only for like black people. And again, it's not you're not. That's not probably not gonna be your intent, but other people will see that as. That's why I always say, if you create something, especially if you're a person of color, market the product. Do not market your race, your gender, or your sexuality, because nobody's going to care. Especially in this day and age where people are getting tired of that, nobody's going to care. Market the product, what you're selling. Do not market your race. If you're a black owner and you're trying to make your own restaurant, do not say do not market it as a black-owned restaurant. Market the type of food you're serving. Market the service, things like that. Now, I know people say, like, oh, what if it's like a Mexican, things like that. I feel like that in a way is a bit more different, because again, Mexico, it's like a country, so that itself is kind of unique. Same thing if you're like, from the Caribbean, you can market like saying it's Caribbean food, but don't just like market yourself saying, oh, I'm someone from the Caribbean, I'm like this type, this and that. So always focused on the product and not yourself. That's just my personal opinion. Because at the end of the day, you don't want your product just for one demographic. You want to serve all demographics. Even though every demographic is not gonna invest in your product, but it's good to view your product as such.
Have to learn how to sell something else aside from what you are like maybe trying to exchange funds for. Of course, that doesn't mean that talent doesn't help. It's needed. It's necessary for sure. But you can't just really skate by on that alone. People have so many different options, and their exposure to that. I mean, it's so easy. Means have also been decentralized, so there's a lot more people in those markets out there. So I don't ever say that to like get you down and maybe say that some of your training or learning about various things is unimportant. I'm not saying that at all. It's just how to apply that. You have to have a little know-how. The good news is that what you sell, or that other thing that you're selling, can differ from person to person, and it really is going to be unique to yourself. For us and a lot of people that are kind of in our space, and by us I'm referring to the Rippaverse, but a big thing that we have is obviously our community is massive, boots to the ground. We're very interactive with our customers, and we're always trying to improve that experience, because that's really our selling point, aside from just obviously the stories which we lead with, and that's very important. Our connected universe is bigger.
Yeah, see, and mind you, Eric July, he created the Rippaverse, and he just said that he leads with with the story and the characters. He doesn't lead, with himself. Like obviously, you can see he's black, but he doesn't lead with that. He leads with the characters. He leads with the story. And there's a perfect example of what I said, that people creating their own things because they're getting tired of what the mainstream is doing. For years, Eric July has, because he's a comic book nerd, all right. And for years, he's been making content talking about the issues that are plaguing the mainstream for comics. And one day, he literally said that, you know what, like, I'm just gonna create my own thing. Instead of me complaining about this stuff, why don't I just be part of the solution? And part of the solution was him creating the Rippaverse. And again, it's still amazing how his first book sold close to like $4 million on launch. It's amazing. It just goes to show that people are hungry for something new. And also, if you build an audience that really rocks with you, they will support you. So again, and also, and like I said, the Rippaverse has been making a lot of great characters, a lot of great books. They also got like industry vets working for them. Like they got Chuck Dixon working for them. They got the Soska sisters. So, and they have other people, and they have artists who work in the industry also, and they have other people that we still don't know about. So again, they're doing something that, in my opinion, challenges, the mainstream, because you're having these independents rising who are not backed up by billion-dollar corporations outselling you guys. And I feel like you, as someone who's mainstream, should look at that as like, oh shoot, like we need to get our shit together. So, yeah, I'm in support of the Rippaverse. I bought how many? I think I have like 3 of their books. I have the first 2 Isons. I have Alpha Core. I think the last thing I got was the calendar. I do want to get some other stuff. Oh yeah, and I have the Saoirse Ripazine magazine. But I do need to get some more stuff from them.
Traction for a lot of people that are fans of the Rippaverse as well. And so that's just an example, making that kind of unique to ourselves, and not saying unique as in nobody else is doing that. It's more that's what we sell aside from that, and our customers care a lot about that. So when you see us like investing really heavily on the customer experience for our website, or we go to these different cons, and it's not just like, hey, there's a guy that represents the company that's going to be there. Oftentimes you see me, the owner, that's going to be there, and I'm out there interacting with all of you. Pretty much all the folks that are in like our corner of the internet value their fellowship a lot. So what that is for you is going to vary from person to person. It's not one singular thing. You just have to find that and really sort of place that in your marketing setup, whatever that may be and whatever that may look like, especially on the digital front. If you look at like entertainment markets, especially like music, people are very open about, hey, just having talent isn't good enough. It's not the primary determinant of whether or not you're going to be successful. And I've also discussed that through the lens of like the rise of AI, and how you have a lot of people trying to sidestep creators. And we've already had that discussion, but it's further proof that you have to be able to sell yourself in another way aside from, hey, I got this thing that I've created and it's awesome. Talent is very important. Skill set is very important. The ability to sell is very important. But marketing is one of the things that is constantly changing, and everybody's trying to.
Exactly. Marketing is constantly changing. For the AI thing, I know like especially like artists are afraid of it, but at the end of the day, you have to embrace it. That's just my personal opinion. Meaning that if you're afraid that AI, especially if you're depending on what market you're in, or you feel like AI is going to replace you, you need to find a workaround around it. Meaning that you need to come off as unique. You really need to like not say improve, but I would say use AI to your advantage, in my opinion. And I feel like a lot of people need to do that, because yes, AI could replace you in down the line for certain things. But at the same time, you can't let it deter you. You have to adapt. You have to grow. That's why I always believe that you're never at there's the finish line is never you're never at the finish line. You always have to keep going. Because there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to ingest, and everyone has the ability to build from where they are, especially in their skills, and that goes for like any industry in my opinion, because every industry is always something new being learned.
To figure that out, and what that looks like going into the future. So find that unique thing that you can offer aside from just what you're trying to exchange for funds. You still need to lead, obviously, with that thing that you're selling. That's going to be that the front facing thing. But how you market that is where you must really, really get creative. And this is not going to ever be a static thing. It's also something that you're going to be constantly learning on and adjusting. And those that have that ability to adapt are going to be the powerhouses going forward. And I don't really think that mega corporations are going to be able to pivot like that. So that's another advantage to all the independents out there.
And he's absolutely right about that. Like a perfect example was him, Corey Kenshin. Let's look at Corey Kenshin. So for his manga, he worked with Line Animation to create a animation preview slash short video to promote his manga. And in my opinion, I think that was a smart move, especially with the animation quality that was provided for that for his series. I think the production quality was really high. I think he did a good job. I didn't buy the manga, so I don't really know what it's about, but I did see the animation quality for that promotional video, and it was really good. So that is like a perfect example. Because most times, especially when people like sell comics, they usually do like, like motion comics for like they usually like a motion comic thing for their try to sell their comic, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. But I feel like what Corey Kenshin did was, something. I don't think it was new, because I feel like there are people in the past that have done that too. But you don't really see a lot of it, especially in that high caliber of quality. Eric July, they've done the same thing. They've done animation for the second Isom book. They did animation for the Alpha Core, and I believe they did it for Yaira as well. So again, that is just like another good example of stepping out of the original of the like the normal boundaries and trying to find a way to market the product to get it in the hands of customers. The next video I want to play is something that Eric talks about. That's I think a lot of people.
It's no secret that the American comic book industry has seen better.
So to give you full context, what he talked, since he's like he's technically trying to compete with the mainstream comic book industry. He talks about how the comic book industry is right now. Because for those of you who don't know, mainstream comics right now are not in the best. They haven't been looking good for a very long time. I did see recently like a Batman issue, like a Batman #1 has sold like I think over 100K volumes. 100K copies, units, which is good. But at the same time, it's been a very long time since we've seen comics sell that high, And the thing is, we only see comics sell that high when they stick to the formula that works. When they do all these other comics, like the race swaps, the gender swaps, the sexuality swaps, those things, the sales are never good for them. But they'll still show the headline saying, "This is stunning and bold. This is new." But the sales are just terrible. So sticking with things that work, obviously they're gonna sell. And that Batman comic is like a perfect example of that. So in this video, he's gonna talk about why and how Japanese manga have taken over American comics, and what the mainstream should learn from this. So let's take a watch.
It's no secret that the American comic book industry has seen better days. Some people have completely given up on it. They believe everybody that participates in it has hopped on a sinking ship and they're largely wasting their time. In other words, it's a lost cause. But I'm a lot more optimistic than others. That said, I'm a realist. I recognize that a lot has to happen in order for it to turn around. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Eric July and I'm the founder and owner of Rippaverse Publishing. We're a relatively new comic book company that launched in 2022, and since then we've sold well over 200,000 total books and made...
So I think the number is more close to like 300 books now. Because he made this video came out this year, so it's closer to like close to like 300 now. But yeah, his company's not that old. It started in 2022. It's not that old. So close to 300K books, and I believe they made over like $11 million.
Total books and made over $10 million in total sales. So I have a lot of skin in the game, and in an industry that is supposedly dying, we've been able to see success. This is going to be a generally positive video. I'll talk about what I think caused the issues, and I'll propose some actual solutions. I'll also dispel of some common myths and give you my opinion on other factors. Let's get into it. The obvious thing that people should point to is the success of manga in the West. This shows that there isn't a demand issue. People still read comics and are willing to pay for the books. So there has to be some sort of disconnect that has this younger generation preferring Japanese comics over the American ones, as well as the more adult customers. All that said,
I mean, he explained it in an older video too. Like, some of these American comics, they're like these skinny, floppy books. Whereas Japanese manga, whenever they release a manga in here to us, the manga volumes, they're like, each volume consists of like 8 to 10 chapters, and it's like over 200 plus pages. So in terms of quality, we're getting more quality. That's one. Even, mind you, most of these books are black and white books, and we're getting that much quality of work.
Though I do think getting the...
And not to mention, these books, you gotta remember, Japanese manga, it's not like the mainstream, because the mainstream comics, you gotta remember, so many people are working on the same characters or the same universes, so there's a lot of retconning, a lot of changes, a lot of, like I said before, character, gender swaps, race swaps, sexuality swaps, and mind you, it just doesn't make any sense, because a regular person growing up with this comic, with this character, knows this character, and then other people come and they change certain things, or they'll change the character around, kill off characters to replace them with a new version of the character that's unlikable, and people will just get this uninterested. People are not going to be interested. Whereas Japanese manga is just one continuous story. You start off with volume 1. Let's say if you go to like volume 17, it's going to be the same story. It's going to be the same story, same characters. It's that simple. And literally, that's why I love the manga community, the anime manga community, because if a series were to deviate from the source material, people will get outraged. People will get upset.
The attention of younger generations is important. The entire industry doesn't need to hinge on it just because they did in the past. While it's true that young fans turn into older fans, you can still have geek culture industries that trend towards older teenagers and adults and still see a lot of success. Warhammer 40K is an example of this. Another thing that I think is overstated is the variety issue. Superhero comics are the most in-demand comic, much like shonen style mangas are.
Yes, it is. Superhero comics are the most in-demand. I believe they are the most sold comics in terms of the U.S. out of all time. You know, Spider-Man, Batman, you know, those comics, they sell a lot. Back when they were good, they sold a lot. Superhero comics will always be in high demand when it comes to here in the West. And that's why shonen is so popular, because shonen in a way is basically kind of like, you know, the superhero genre. You know, you got a main character, you know, wants to be the hero, has a goal that he wants to achieve. He has to go out and adventure into the world, get stronger, gain new skills, gain a better understanding of the world around him, and face enemies that that don't believe in the that have different ideologies and they clash. It's something. It's similar to American comics. And it is my favorite volume from Naruto, by the way. I love this volume. I just love how the Akatsuki are in the circle. Very iconic.
Are the most in-demand mangas. Yet there exist all sorts of other mangas from sports to food. Likewise, there's plenty of variety in American comics.
And that's why when I hate when people say manga is not diverse, because manga has been diverse for a very long time. Like, if you want a genre of manga, you can literally just look up something and you will find something. There is literally something for anyone. Like, there's literally cooking manga. There's manga learning how to cook. There's manga learning on what's that series? What's that series I'm calling right now? I'm watching right now. It's about looking for minerals, and rocks. Like, there's a manga on. There's something for everyone. If you want your boys love, you want your girls love, you want romance, you want slice of life, high school. You want shonen, you want seinen, something for adults. Like, there's a genre for anyone. And that's what people need to understand. So people saying that manga is not diverse, they don't know what they're talking about, because I don't think they dived in to like a manga a day in their life.
Exists all types of different comics out there, so the lack of variety is not only overstated, it's just flat out incorrect.
Exactly.
I think a lot of these myths stem from people not wanting to accept some harsh realities. And I think solutions require proper analyzing of the American comic book industry and mangas. Both have unique attributes, so it's not about simply copying what the Japanese have done. In a lot of cases, some of what they do was influenced by old American cartoonists and traditions anyway.
And that is true. Like, same thing with anime. Anime was inspired by what Disney did. That's how their animation was a thing. And now look at them. Japanese arguably dominates the animation industry, in my opinion. Because even American animation now, it's not the same as it used to be back in the 90s, early 2000s. Because I feel like we had pretty good animation. Like, there's a lot of good animated shows here in the West. And I just don't know what happened. Things now, people are becoming more lazier when it comes to animation. Things are not. People are taking more shortcuts, and you can tell by just watching some of these animated shows now, and it's just like. It's just not the same anymore. I want to, and I'm not gonna say the Japanese don't do the same either, because some of these Japanese animation studios, they do take shortcuts. That anime series, the beginning after the end, has been really talked about in the community for their lackluster animation. But again, it's less. It's not that many though in the Japanese, but it's a lot here, and I feel like. In my personal opinion, I feel like once everything went digital, that's when it started to go downhill. Because before everything was done on paper, things came off more fluent, fluid, in my opinion. Now it's just like you can tell, like these people are just all working digitally, and it just does not look good. But that's just my personal opinion.
One thing that I don't think is talked about enough is how it became somewhat of a detriment that the market share has been absolutely dominated by only two publishers for several decades. Sure, this could be due to many different factors, but that's what just happened. The entire industry is held up by two publishers, and generations of customers, including myself, were conditioned to only look to them as if they're the only legitimate publishers. From the talent to the customers, it all ran through these publishers, so now the health of the industry rests upon them. And unfortunately, for decades, smaller publishers attempted to replicate this model, which simply doesn't work long term unless you have what they have access to. To further put this into perspective, Shueisha is the big...
Yeah, oh, he says Shueisha. But yeah, he's right. A lot of these, like, there are a few independents out there that try to replicate what the mainstream does, and automatically it's just something you should not do. Because one, the mainstream is backed up by billions of dollars. So one, that's something you should not do. And two, you see what the mainstream has been doing. Like, why would you try to copy that? Like, if you want to take some inspirations here and there, that's fine, but don't try to replicate and copy what they're doing, because you're not gonna be that successful. That's just my personal opinion. It's better because at the end of the day, you want your product in the hands of the customer. That's something that you have to come to terms with. Like, I do not care about what awards you're getting. I don't care. I just want to know how much you're selling and if you're making enough money for this product to continue or to continue to onto other ventures that relates to the product. Awards, I don't care. I don't give a damn about awards. Awards don't mean shit. Like we've seen it we've seen it time and time again happening in the industry. Some of these, for example, some of these comic book writers that change characters based off based off things like sexuality and things or race. They get these big awards, but then they'll start tweeting out saying, "Hey, I really need these comics to sell." Like these, they don't sell. At the end of the day, they do these things to please their coworkers, people they work with. At the end of the day, these are not things the customers want. It's that simple, and it's been proven time and time again. That guy, I forgot what book he wrote. He wrote like he got like a GLAAD award, and then a couple of days later, he's been sending out tweets saying, "Hey, I really need people to buy my comic book," things like that. I'm just like, dude, like you got an award, but your book's not even selling. How does that even make sense? Then again, like awards nowadays, especially here in the West, don't mean anything. So.
Biggest manga publisher. At best, they represent only 30% of the market share. 30% is like a floor for either of the big two individually. Even right now, over 60% of the market share are between the big two. Of course, America has other publishers, but the makeup is a little more balanced in Japan. On any given year, you'll see a manga that's a top 10 seller that isn't a Shueisha published book. And though it occasionally happens in comics, it's seen as a rarity. And America is far more populated in addition to having different cultures, so you'd think that it would have a more decentralized market. To really put this into perspective, most of the American top sellers on any given year are based on properties that were created decades ago. Only rarely this isn't the case. With manga, and thus anime, you'll see an explosion of properties that were created over the last 10 years. Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Freerun, Blue Lock, massive successes from different publishers that...
He hit the nose right there. Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, these are properties that were literally made a couple of years ago. Same thing with Freerun and Blue Lock. These properties were made a couple of years ago. And look how popular they are now. Jujutsu Kaisen, every time a manga volume releases, those volumes sell for like millions of copies. Like they showed the numbers. Like it literally competes with One Piece because One Piece is like one of the only mangas that sells like over 1 million copies every release in a matter of like only a couple of weeks. Blue Lock, how they did Blue Lock was very smart marketing. I believe they released it during the Soccer World Tournament back in, I think it was back in 2022, 2023? So how they released it was really smart. That goes to show, like, having smart marketing and releasing a product at a right time. And when they released Blue Lock, they released it at the perfect timing. Freerun, another one. Freerun. I don't think the manga was... No, actually, no. Freerun manga was actually pretty popular. The anime just, made the manga go up. Same thing with Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer. The mangas for Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer, they weren't really, they didn't really sell to those heights until the anime came out. The anime made these products popular, and that's something that the Japanese is good at doing and the West cannot do. Because every time the Japanese, they know how to sell their product, because the anime sells the manga sells the anime. For some reason, we can't do that here, for some reason. Because, again, like I said, you have a lot of people coming in to these already established properties trying to create their own thing. We see that happen time and time again. And that's the one thing I can't that I can't give the MCU back when it was good. Because the MCU, during the days the MCU was good, the comics weren't even selling that to those heights like the Japanese. And mind you, like everyone was going to the movies to watch these movies. But yet the comics couldn't sell to that manner. And the reason why is because, like I said again, you have too many people coming in changing stories around, changing characters, because they want to do their own thing.
That aren't characters created in the 1960s or before. They still have long-standing properties like Dragon Ball and One Piece that do very well, so I don't think this has anything to do with universes or the fact that some of the characters are older and their stories don't end. It's just customer habits are different with the manga audience, and it's something worth exploring. Even with some of the shonen books being very similar, people are still willing to try new things and new properties. Also, with that said, many of the American properties don't help themselves. The constant reboots of universes and books make it nearly impossible.
Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. This is why they cannot sell, because they keep coming in and changing stuff and rebooting stuff. Like look at this. You got black Captain Falcon right here. Like again, this is what I'm talking about. Female Thor, Miss Marvel, characters that nobody asked for.
For someone new to get in. They don't know where to start. On top of that, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, there's some arrogant.
And that's a perfect example. That's why people can't get into comics, because when you ask someone, "Hey, I want to get into this comic, where do I start?" People literally have to figure out where to start, like what they want you to read, what they want you not to read, what to skip. It's like I said, too many people are working on the same character, but they're changing stuff around. Japanese manga, when it's literally easy. If someone asks you, "I want to get into this, where do I start?" Volume 1. Or let's say if they watch the first season, they want to continue, just look where the season ended in the volume and tell them, "Oh, start at that volume, then keep going." It's that simple. American comics, not the same.
Against to the American creator. They always feel as if they're the center of attention, so they must leave their imprint on these characters. So you can watch a movie on a comic book character and then read the book, and you'll be dealing with two completely different characters that only share the same name.
Exactly.
With manga, there's this expectation that the anime is to respect and be accurate to the manga. In fact, when they deviate away from it too far, there's often backlash. Customer habits and expectations are different. And this brings me to my next point as to why I think the Japanese are seeing their success. It's culture, but it's not just in one aspect. Let's first talk about the creator culture, and I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way. The American comic book creator culture is filled with egos and entitlement. It's less about the characters and their stories and more about them and their imprint, as I alluded to earlier.
I mean, it's not just in comic books, it's in Hollywood in general. Hollywood in general, there's too much egos. That's why they try to put their imprint in everything they do. And we've seen that with comic book characters as well. Comic book characters are a big thing now. Also in gaming, you have a lot of people coming in. They try to make you understand where they're coming from through the character. We've seen this with Dragon Age: The Veilguard. The person who wrote the game was transitioning, so they put most of that into the game, and you can't even skip it. You can't even skip the cutscenes.
They care more about praise and worship than they do their universes. It's one of the lousiest industries when it comes to being inviting of new talent. Many are in this Mexican standoff, or they're waiting to stab each other in the back just to advance their own careers. Anybody that gains momentum will be met with an onslaught of hatred. I speak from experience. Many think their way is the way, and anybody that does it differently is a threat. A lot of it stems from economic illiteracy, where people look at the market like a fixed pie, as if someone else's success attributes to their own failure.
Exactly.
It's a very catty industry. They make this far more difficult than what it needs to be. Then turn around and pretend like this is just how it is. This is how it is. It's tough out there. No, you're just being an ass and overcompensating and treating this like it's the cool kids club. I don't doubt that Japanese folk have their share of the same. It's just not as prominent. And I think that's why a lot of...
That's the thing. I don't even think Japanese creators have this at all. They don't. Because from what I see, most of these Japanese creators, they respect one another from what I've seen. A lot of these creators, especially like these assistants who eventually make their own stories, like they show how much admiration and how much respect they had for their predecessors. Even the old heads, they respect the new talent coming out. They'll always say, hey, go read this, go read that. Like for example, Fujimoto, he was one who mentioned people to go read Dandadan, and he recently mentioned people to go read Centauria, which by the way, Centauria is amazing read. It's a very good read. I highly recommend people look into Centauria. If you like Vinland Saga and Berserk, Centauria is for you. But yeah, I never really see this with the Japanese, and if the Japanese don't respect people, we don't know because they won't say this publicly. Here in the American industry, they say this publicly. Like you can go on Twitter, you'll see thousands of tweets on this, or even videos. So again, I do think culture plays a big factor in this.
Of the aspiring new artists are more manga inspired in their art styles. Countless amount of people have unfortunately seen what I've had to endure, for example, and they've been turned away from being creators. They've reached out to me and explicitly told me that. This means less innovation, which is what this industry really needs. But enough about that. Let's get into some solutions. I did a video titled The Economic Illiteracy of the Comic Book Business. Please go watch it. It's an essay where I break down the economics of the American industry and how it always was on thin ice. One of the benefits of having the big two as they were was that it almost acted as a welfare state for many creators. They're the only ones that could operate like that, and they weren't as profitable as you think. I bring this up to say there needs to be some sort of economic revolution if people are going to thrive. Trying to copy the traditional comic book distribution and pricing model is silly for two reasons. One, it never actually worked as far as profitability. And two, when it was at its best, that was a different technological time. This is why I think it's silly when people think just trying to get their comics on a classic newsstand is going to save the industry like it's the 80s or something. People don't consume, nor do they discover the same way.
And that's something that a lot of independents I've been seeing. They think if you have your book next to these other big titles, they think that they're quote unquote successful. When it's just not the truth, man. Like you can have your book next to this big name book, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean people are gonna buy it. I'm just gonna be completely honest. If you believe in your book, then it should stand on its own. It doesn't need to be next to these big name titles just to like get some recognition. And I've seen some creators do that, like some independent creators do that. Like they say, yo, my book is on the shelves next to these big titles, or they'll try to market themselves, comparing themselves with these other big name titles. And it's just like, if your product is solid, it should stand on its own. You shouldn't be able to use these other big name titles to market yourself. And again, in my opinion, you doing that, it's kind of like false advertising in a way, because you're basically saying like your series is as big as these series. So I don't know, that's just my personal opinion.
They did in previous decades, especially younger people. The internet is now the newsstand, and all creators, especially independents, will need to adjust and get out of that archaic line of thinking. Now, I believe that the American comic book industry will be saved by the independents. You're going to see different models, and there will never be a universal setup anymore. What works for us will not work for others, and vice versa. Welcome the innovation, and understand that you need to always learn. Most importantly, understand that innovation is not a negative thing. It may scare you and make a lot of what you learned obsolete, but don't treat it like it's an attack. This will welcome people to not only create, but to also get involved as customers. You need to understand that most readers aren't your fellow creators. This is a hurdle that a lot of people can't get over, especially when they underperform. You've got to be a capitalist. Unless you're a teacher, your peers are never going to be your primary audience. They also aren't trained to view things through a market lens. You will be broke in no time if you're only trying to serve yourself and your peers, and you think that the audience must live up to your standards as if your art is God's blessing to them.
Exactly.
And you must learn that even if you are the guy, you're not always going to be the guy. Stop trying to control people's taste, as it only makes you come off as an elitist. This should humble you and have you think less about tradition and going through the motions, and more about fulfilling.
And that's why I said, create for the customer. Do not create for the peers. For your peers. It's that simple. I think creators should listen to what the customers want and not listen to the peers. I'll only listen to a peer if they themselves are, have like they created something and they're successful. But if it's someone who either creates something and it's not successful or doesn't even have a creative backbone, I'm not listening to that person. It's that simple. If the customer wants that, then that's what they get. Especially if it's like a majority of the customers. If the majority of the customers want that, then that's something you should do. Especially if it's something that you believe in too. Like, I'm not saying create something just because the customers want it. Create something that you like and something that a majority of customers would want. And that's why it's really good to like build like an audience. Like, start out small.
The demand of the customers. And as for the customers, I think everybody is going to have to realize, as many of you already have, the mainstream isn't the only gig in town. Gaming is also going through this fundamental change. It used to be that people only really bought what was put in their face. So the bigger companies felt like the only ones that existed. But now people are giving indies more of a chance, and the discovery is better due to the internet.
Yep.
Similar things I think are going to happen in comic book restructuring. This may mean that there's never another big two, but that's okay. We also must be fair to these publishers and understand that success is not simply measured in the form of this major box office or making millions of dollars. As time progresses, the more people become accustomed to free content. But smaller independent companies can't sustain or grow without you purchasing the things that you find of value. There are really no loss leaders as an independent. Only big, massive companies can afford to do that. So as you're hearing, it's about making this far more welcoming to both creators and customers. It isn't just a wokeness issue. Yeah, the push for DEI stifles creativity, but wokeness just amplified the problem and was easily identifiable. You had a bunch of identitarians and social political motivated people trying to ham-fist their agenda, and customers didn't want it for various reasons. Opposing politics, bastardization of favorite characters, etc. And many creators walked on eggshells in hopes that they weren't the next to be canceled. This is a hostile environment, and it's impossible for great ideas to flourish during these conditions.
Yes, it is a hostile environment because if you don't bend the knee for them, then they will out you. It's that simple. And most of it has to do with political views, and that's the problem with modern entertainment right now, because things are just too political. Like, at the end of the day, if you work at a company, if I'm a boss, I'm just going to keep it real simple. Leave your politics at the door, because when you come in, we're here to work and create. It's that simple. No one should be fired based on how they feel politically. It's that simple. We've seen it happen to Chuck Dixon, right here to Joe Bennett. It's that, like, it makes no sense.
It's not fun, and it's certainly not escapism. There are a lot of people doing some awesome things, but obviously we've got a long way to go if the American market is to thrive. I think that this can all be improved upon. I'm not a doomer when it comes to this industry. I'm actually an optimist. Seeing what Iconic Comics are doing with their various series like Common America and Soul Finder is inspiring.
I am amazed how popular Common America is in Japan. The fact that they were able to build a fan base in Japan is very, very inspiring. It is amazing that they were able to do that.
They have a big Japanese presence as well, and they work incredibly hard. They understand professionalism is just as important as the quality in what they create. There's no substitute for work, and you can't just skate on by with past accomplishments. Everybody is updating their resume, and you have to work just as hard to deliver as you do on creating. Not everything will work, and not everything will become some monumental success, but we need more folks out there giving it a shot. Even if you aren't directly connected with someone that gets, let's say, new fans enthusiastic about comics, you can benefit from it whether you know it or not, because it places more eyes on the actual industry. Don't be irritated or sour or feel that you are more deserving, and don't try to kneecap anybody because they haven't gone through some arbitrary struggle that you feel they must endure to become legitimate. Being encouraging is what this industry needs.
Yes.
The positivity in it is infectious to both creators and customers. The new era of American comics is going to look a lot different. The market is adjusting, and just because you had a spot in the old system does not mean that you are guaranteed a spot in the future. There were a lot of smoke and mirrors, and people have seen the bubble burst. Others think it's over, but I tend to think that it's just time for a new age. I've said a million times, even if the Rippaverse wasn't as successful, I have no problem with a more decentralized industry. It's still a necessary adjustment.
Great video from Eric July. He's absolutely right. The industry is going to look very different in the next coming years. Like I said, we just need to get people who actually want to create back into these places, and also we just need to get we need to just focus on more of these creatives, people who actually want to create, people who want to do great things. And yeah, as someone who wants to create also, I truly believe that you just have to understand the market and always keep your nose and ears open on what's happening in the industry so that you can adjust. But I think I'll end it there. Pretty short stream. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Still got some videos to upload. Still need to upload these artworks. This one's done. So is this one and this one. Currently working on this one still. Working on the coloring process. But these are gonna be the next videos I upload. This is probably gonna be the first one right here. And then the Attack on Titan one, and then Yushio. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Hope you guys have a great upcoming week and a great night. It is the Way Blur, and I'm signing out.